you so much for coming on the show. It was great to finally meet you because this is how we meet each other nowadays, through Zoom. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, great. Hey, Chris, thanks for having me. Our project is HitPauze, which is like an office style
With a
out
Z
of office
or a Z,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Good call. Thank you. HitPause with a Z, as in snooze. So what we do is we're like an out of office style type service for your social media and messaging services. So you might write a little message saying, "Hey, I'm having a great podcast with Chris." Write your little message, press hit pause, and then whoever hits you up in Slack, WhatsApp, Messenger, Signal, all those different services we have, they just get that message back.
Oh, wow.
And what it really does, and what it really does is gives us the ability, and I mean, we have to have these things at an arm's length these days, right? It gives us the ability to
I
genuinely...
wish. This one, mine's like stuck to my hip.
Right. I just read this stat this morning that 81% of people respond to or look at their phones and check messages within the first 5 minutes of waking up.
Yeah.
It was within the first 30 minutes of waking up. And that's because 71% of people actually sleep with a phone in their bedroom. It's that close to us these days.
It's scary, huh?
I'm off topic already, but that's what we're about. We're about giving people the real ability to put their phone down and hit pause and take that time to focus on what's important to them. And that could be, time with your friends and family or business work, getting some time to really focus on a project that's really important. So that's it.
That's a fantastic idea. How did you come up with it? Like, where did you come? I mean, I love it. First of all. Cool. Secondly, is how did you come up with it? I mean, did you just like suddenly one day say, "I wish there was some way to hit pause on my life," and then came up with it that way?
Look, I'm going to do it as quickly as I can. So this is my second startup. My first startup project was Screencoach. And that's a project, again, to do with kids and screen time, where kids earn screen time from chores, tasks, and movement.
Oh, nice. I love that idea too.
Right. Yeah, right. So we've built that one and it's out there in the world, gang. But once the time earned has elapsed, devices get blocked and the kids have to make different choices. And it's really about behavior change and improving the family dynamic, using screen time and pocket money as the commodity to navigate that. Anyhow, so I've been on that project for a number of years. And prior to that, I rarely looked at my phone. Anyhow, in the middle of this project, it's 11 o'clock at night. My wife and I have come home from dinner and I'm sitting there sending Slack and WhatsApp messages to developers around the world in the Ukraine and Philippines and my team here in Australia. And and my wife said, "Look at you, this guy who just constantly keeps looking at his phone now. What's going on? Who's this guy?" And it made me stop, and it really did. It really made me stop and hit pause for myself and think about it. And I just observed myself over the next couple of weeks and started peeling back the layers of the onion as to why I feel such a need to get back in touch with people so quickly. And you know what? Our bet here at HitPause is that there's a couple of things at play. One is that classic FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. Yeah. And my new acronym, the Philopidid, it's going to take off. The fear of letting other people down. And I believe, honestly, that's really what we're betting on. It's really that unwritten social contract that says, "I'll get back to you as quickly as I can." And we do it, and that's why we check this thing within the first 30 minutes of waking up. And that's why we're sitting there with our family, enjoying some time and watching a movie together on TV or streaming something on Netflix and just quickly messaging someone thinking we're being more effective.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some great work coming out and a lot of studies going on, of course, since the Social Dilemma project I seem to be advertising Netflix a lot today, but, that Social Dilemma piece out there, but there's a lot of work out there. I really enjoy some of the work of Cal Newport and Stolen Focus, deep work, and then Johan Hari and Stolen Focus, and the challenges that, we believe that the more and more we keep on top of things, the more and more effective we are. And I believe that's true. Probably for the first, few hours, minutes, but then that slowly starts to creep down and starts to become laborious and intensive. And this is where that burnout starts to occur. And that's what we're hearing now with this burnout.
But isn't it true that kind of we haven't really been taught how to manage time properly, right?
Well, technology's taken over, right? And our human brains are only wired to be effective to a certain degree. And they can handle a certain amount of processing. And some people more than others, right? I'm in the moderate level, but I've seen some people, I've worked with some real high achievers. It just seem to keep going, but eventually it catches up with us and eventually it slows us down. And, you know, this now post-COVID life, and I know it's the same in the US because I read the statistics as it is here in Australia. So many people are now hybrid working from home. And it's really blurring the lines of on and off time. And that's part of the place where we find HitPauze is really playing out successfully, you know, giving people the ability to say, hey, I just need that time. And also the approach, and I suppose the social consciousness around screens and effectiveness and respect and for our one's time is starting to lift as well. You know, we're starting to say, hey, it's okay if I don't get that message back straight away.
Yeah. I think
interestingly enough, sorry, go.
No, but it's basically it's response management, right? So, I mean, the messages come in, you feel like you have to respond right away because you think you're not being, because you can, you try to, and
Right.
you just feel like you're on a never-ending treadmill of respond, and then get more, and etc. Right?
It's like WhatsApp, right? I mean, WhatsApp. What I hate about WhatsApp in some way is it says when you've looked at the message and you're like, oh no, they know I've looked at it. I've got to get back to them. You know, that's and it sort of feeds into that disease. And one of the things that we found, here's a couple of pieces I want to share with yourself and the audience, is that one of the pieces is actually teaching ourselves how to hit pause. Like we typically find, yes, we have a tool that people love. Yes, we have a tool that people jump on board and get involved with. It's actually getting to hit pause. They're like, oh, what happens if people think I don't want to talk to them? And it really is that fallopited kicking in, you know, it's really that fear of letting other people down. The best response I get is from the people who receive that message. I typically get, you know, people start to feel that the tension and ease starts to increase. The more people go, hey, thanks for letting me know. Because once you get a message saying, oh, he's just in a podcast with Chris, he'll get back to me at midday today. They're cool. Like, you know, we all think we're at the center of everyone's universe. It's not true. You know, if I say I'm going to get back to you at midday, and you know, because I've hit pause, most people are like, yeah, cool, I'll wait till midday. And you know, we're
because it usually is not urgent, whatever they want from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Typically 95% of the time, it's something that can be quite easily managed. And then the other part is just building that muscle. You know, that's the part for our clients and our customers, is just building that muscle to be comfortable saying to people, I'm taking that time out.
Yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, we're so overly time regulated, right? We've gotten into a position now where each and every second is mapped and planned, right? I mean, it's like we have to do this till then, this till then, this till then, this till then. So many of us just like live by the clock, right? It's nice to have some sort of like a time where you can just stop and just say, okay, stop the world. You know, let me do something else for a bit.
And you know, you're really tapping into what is at the heart of what HitPauze is about. You know, what we strongly believe is that, yes, that active mind, that highly engaged mind, the monkey mind, they probably call it in Buddhism and stuff like that. Yes, we think that that's a powerful piece, but sometimes the real strength and the real great ideas and the real creativity comes when we actually stop that a little bit or slow that down. I don't think that it can ever stop. Who knows? But to be able to slow that down, and that's where HitPauze comes in. You know, we find so many times, and you know, the old adage was that the great ideas come to you when you're, you know, in the bathroom, in the shower, or driving the car, or halfway through doing your shopping. You know, and it's because you actually do stop your brain from being overly regulated and addicted to that time and the next thing and the next thing and the to-do list.
Exactly. It's like when you're consuming, like we're constantly consuming all the time because we're constantly connected. I mean, there used to be a time prior to these guys where we weren't constantly consuming, but now they're feeding us and we're constantly consuming. And you almost want to just say, put yourself in a meditative state and say, okay, I want to disconnect myself from everything. And that sounds like what you're doing. I'd love to hear, like, on the technical side, how you actually made that work. I mean, do you have to sort of log in under each one of these services to get it to work? I mean, is there an easier way to do it, or how does it work on the technical side?
Yeah, so currently when you download HitPauze, you do make a link between the services that you have. So you only have to do that once. Most of the times these days it's done pretty easy. You scan a QR code from WhatsApp and Signal and all those sorts of things, or just put in a password and it does the connection in the background. So that piece is done. It takes about a minute, 30 seconds to a minute for each of the services that you use.
So you could be there for like an hour, depending on how many you got, right?
Look, I suppose when you look at the statistics across the planet, we actually find there's really the two big players are Messenger and WhatsApp, right? Like they dominate the scene, and then it starts to trickle down fairly differently between each country, whether it be Signal, Telegram, Kakao, Line, or some of the big ones throughout Asia. So there's a few others under there that we're working and integrate with as well.
And on go ahead. So on the what kind of responses is it just a fixed response saying, hey, I'm doing this, or hey, I'm doing that, or can it be dynamic, or how does that work?
You're part of our team, dev team, Chris. So currently, we're at the sort of the MVP level. So you can download it from the App Store and Google Play, and integrate. And it's just the one message at the moment. We're in creating at the moment profiles, which will give you the ability to have dynamic profiles. And we've got some really cool other features coming in down the pipeline as well. So we love people to get on board, have a go, give us some feedback. We're certainly making a few changes and doing a new release later this week with some new screens to help make this play out a bit better. But with those sorts of things with profiles, multiple different responses. How do I talk to my boss versus my kids? How do I change those different responses?
That's a good one.
We're working on. And look, and it's interesting because I know as much as we want to feel we're all a little bit different, there's so much similarity too. This is what I found both with Screencoach and with HitPauze, that we all are wrestling the same things and trying to do it roughly the same way.
Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, what made you? Have you always been entrepreneurial? Were you working in corporate beforehand? How did you get to where you are?
Oh, look, my CV is a raft of different projects and things over time. I think I am nomadic at heart. Mm-hmm. So I get the 7-year itch after about 7 months, but I've journeyed through a few
7-month itch, right?
No, so my background really, actually, I lived in the States for a while as well, and I worked for a small company called Disney Corp over in Florida.
I never heard of them.
And back then I did a lot of training and training and education work for them. And when I came back here to Australia, I started doing that training and education for small to medium-sized businesses in management and leadership and sales and marketing. So I did that for a period of time. And then after that, I moved into the corporate space, doing something similar in adult behavior change programs. So really helping organizations either affect or change their culture or their wellbeing programs through communication strategies, training programs, and the like.
Oh, that's the good stuff. But were you successful? I mean, how the heck do you change people's behaviors? I mean, that seems like the hardest thing in the planet.
I don't know. Marketing's been doing it for a long, long time,
So there are ways of doing it. I thought it was almost impossible to change people's behaviors.
Oh yeah, like I get from a deeper part. I think we're hardwired a certain way through our personalities and traits. I could go onto this topic for ages.
Yeah.
Chris. But to change a community and an approach, it's not always that challenging. And we're not talking about turning people. Proving people that black is now white and white is now green and things like that. It's literally just starting to have people appreciate and adopt, a new concept or a new culture or new technology. There's a lot of the work we did was getting people to adapt to new technology. Companies invest hundreds of millions of dollars in putting in new pieces of technology, and they can be completely poo-pooed or kiboshed by all that we call it the corridor conversation, or that conversation around the bubbler where everyone's sitting there going, oh, we're not going to do this. And so a lot of our work was just making sure that these projects got out the door successfully. It's really what happens, and where we affected a lot of change. But I really enjoyed that. I do enjoy working, and I'm a people watcher. I think a lot of us are. I just like seeing how people operate as a whole and as a group. That's always been my passion and interest. And of course, I'm just looking up in this. I'm thinking about being a parent and the conversations I've had over the last Easter holidays. managing chocolate requirements, but
so is that what drove you into the first app? Is like watching your kids and what they were doing, or other kids, or
kids and screens? So that my next project after that was Screencoach, and it really just came from being a father with kids and just seeing how this technology was overwhelming my family and other families. In fact, that project started at a barbecue at my place where a whole lot of parents were complaining about kids and screen time. And again, my wife came up with the idea without knowing it. We'd all received an email from school about a kid who had a Fitbit on their hand, and it was in grade 1 or something. And I remember parents going, "Who's bought a kid a Fitbit in grade 1?" And some people have more money than sense. I almost remember the conversation to the letter. And my wife said, "I'd only buy a Fitbit if it turned on and off all these other devices in the house." And I thought, wow, imagine how much movement a kid did would accumulate time when the time elapses, devices got blocked, got more time, just go outside and get more active, which is another challenge that parents face these days, with kids being all consumed with a screen and on a couch or in their bedroom. And so that was really the seed of that idea.
I love that idea. I love that idea. Can you do that for other people too? Like if I wanted my wife to get off Facebook, would that work?
It's funny enough. It's one of the biggest comments we have, and the view and vision at Screencoach is for everyone to actually have a screen coach in some way. Something to help just warn them and remind them.
Yeah, well, that would work. But it's like I said, but I tried to download HitPause, but it's not available in the US. Is that right?
That's being resolved right now.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay, good, because I definitely want to use that.
Done. You're right.
I've been slammed.
Well, so for the last month, we've just been testing it with cohorts here in Australia, just keeping things simple, and then we're starting to release that now overseas. So it's really exciting for us. This is why it's been so great to connect with you last week, Chris, and today on the podcast.
Well, can you tell me a little bit about your feedback cycle? I mean, did you just build it and throw it out there to your friends and see what they like? How much testing did you do ahead of time?
Oh no, we've done quite a bit of testing. So the team I'm working with is a team I engaged with Screencoach. I met them during part of our project at early days, and Adam and his team, the guys at Roadhouse Digital, have created some amazing projects. One of them here is called Smiling Minds, which is a bit like Calm. It's really the Australian version of Calm that they built, and Scoop On and Catch of the Day. Some really big projects here in Australia. And we just got on really well. And when I shared him the idea of HitPause, he said, "I'm in." I just love it when you meet people and go, "Yep, I got it, I'm in." And
those are the kinds of ideas that really fly. Just super simple. I get it. It's like a couple of words and people get it.
Yeah. And so we built the product. We're just on about 14 months now. We've certainly done alpha internal testing. We've done around 2 rounds of beta testing, and now we're just making those last few little changes so we can release it to people, globally, and start to see how it flies in different countries.
Yeah. So here's the $64,000 question. What's the business model?
Well, yeah. So what you talked about earlier was profiles. So we're really looking for a freemium model. So we'll be a platform that will have access to all the different apps and that one flat message across all your services. Once you start saying, "I want to change messages for my boss, my kids, and you're starting to get a little bit clever with how you want HitPause to play out for you, that's where the payment model will come in. We see ourselves a bit like Slack. We see that the service has real value across a lot of people, and we want many people to have a real breadth of users across the globe, and then really the paying model being for those organizations that engage with that. There's a few movements out there in the employment landscape globally that we feel we can be a partner with. So there's a piece of legislation in Europe, for example, called the right to disconnect, and that plays out in right now. It's law in Ireland, the UK, France, Belgium. We're actually having it introduced here in Australia, and I believe there's been conversations in different states of America around the right to disconnect as well. And it's for different organizations. Here in Australia, for example, the Teachers Union has the right to disconnect already. And then teachers getting messages these days with messaging services. They're getting messages from parents at 10 o'clock at night. Does little Johnny need to wear a red T-shirt to
Yeah, exactly.
He only got a C for that project today, and I worked really hard. I mean, he worked really hard on it, so there's this real movement. So we start seeing organisations like the Teachers Unions being able to engage HitPause for all their teachers, so that they have the ability to have a tool to help them. And we really see this in the mental health and wellness space. We really see this as a wellness product, and giving to companies a tool that they can pass onto their team and say, "Hey, here's something to help you. Here's something that gives you the ability to take that time out."
Yeah. Well, speaking like where you're going, is time to think like a futurist. It's the year 2033, 10 years out. I think I know where you're going with this, and I really love where it's going, but I'd love to hear what your take is.
What the world will look like in 2030?
I don't know where you will be in 20, like where's
Oh,
HitPause going to be in 2030? Because I know how I'd like to, I know what I'd like it to do, but what would you like it to do?
Look, I'd like us to be part of a global movement.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really like us to be that point where, you know, you go to the movie cinema and it just shows you the logo of HitPause and you go, oh yeah, I got to hit pause. You know, we naturally start to hit pause. Of course, with the way technology is integrating, I'd like us to be able to just look at our device and just, you know, instantly kind of just know that you want to be on hit pause mode if I wanted to get futuristic around technology. But culturally, I want that to just be the norm. You know,
Yeah.
I want a society that sits there and values a person who puts up the, hey, I need to hit pause, and goes, that's okay. In fact, good on them.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. You know, quite often I heard someone come back. We have you know, like a lot of places, you know, have luxury resorts, and I heard someone who's a wealthy family went across on this holiday to an island up here in Queensland. And they came back and one of their first comments was, it was so luxurious, we didn't even have Wi-Fi. And that's
lack of Wi-Fi is a luxury. I love it.
Right. That to me is proof that we're heading in the right direction, because that's where I want it to be. Where you go, you know, I've hit pause, I've taken that moment, and people go, wow, how lucky is that person? You know, because sometimes being told I've hit pause is a no. And you know, we as a breed, human beings, don't like the word no that much. You know, as I said, going back to my chocolates and Easter scenario with my kids again.
Well, we're not really saying no. We're saying not right now, right? So it's, as long as you say not right now, it's not so bad.
That's it. That's exactly right. And for mine, that's where I'd love life to be, and for us to understand that what the benefit is to ourselves, to the team we work with, to our families. There's no doubt that, you know, just hitting pause and spending that quality time. I think you mentioned earlier, Chris, just spending that time with yourself. It's so many benefits, you know, there's so many benefits, and we start to see better ideas and greater creativity and a greater expanse by stopping, you know, disconnecting to reconnecting in some way.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing where I see it going is, if you think about it, you've got your customized messages, right? Which you still have to create and put out there. But wouldn't it be great if it sort of evolved to a point where it could create its own customized messages? Like, oh, I see you're driving. Let's automatically send a message out, you're driving, and then go beyond that and turn it into sort of like almost like a concierge or a virtual assistant that manages your interaction with the world, right? So you're starting from okay, I want to stop my interaction with the world. And then you're moving to, I want to manage my interactions with the world. So it might get to a point where you're saying, okay, you know, you're just telling your assistant, your HitPause assistant, that this is how I want my day to work. And it'll sort of work in the background and manage all the communications for you, and just filter out the stuff that you want to see when you want to see it. So I'd love to see it grow into something like that, where it's a more full-blown manager between me and the world. Because
that's it. Look, I've got a Miro board. I'm just looking up at a Miro board tab there right now that we just shaped out yesterday with another version of the product coming down the pipeline really soon. So, you know, I don't want to give away too many of the secrets, but
don't. But I'd love to see it going in that direction.
Something in that space is coming here soon. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, because the thing is, I mean, it's kind of like, if you look at all the automated assistants that we have now, you've got Alexa, you've got Google, you've got Siri, all these AIs work for somebody else. They work for Apple, they work for Amazon, they work for Google. None of them are actually working for us. So I see the potential in this to be the AI that works for us. And I think that makes it a super powerful, amazing thing that will sort of change history. So hopefully you don't think it's that much. No.
What
do you think? Are you there?
Yeah, we're there. No, we're there. It's certainly one of the big, not even one of the big picture thinking ideas. You know, initially one day we thought maybe one day, but now it's really becoming something quite a real reality, especially with some of the new services available.
Excellent. I mean, everything's got AI built in, so you could suddenly create an AI HitPause. You may have to change the name by that point, though.
Again, it sounds like you were in this meeting yesterday, Chris.
I was listening in.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm sure we're not the only
Awesome.
one look racing in that direction.
Yeah, but
it's exciting.
you're actually in a really interesting space because you are at the layer directly where the user is. So there's the user, there's you, and then there's the world. And
Right.
not many things are between the user and the world. And if you can sort of take over that space and help people manage their lives and their time, then I think you're in the perfect spot for that.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's exactly the plan. Oh, good, mate. Well,
excellent.
sounds like as I said, one of the amazing things that I've learned both with Screencoach and HitPauze is that we're the same all around the planet. You know, I have similar conversations here as I was with an Irishman only last week, who just a friend of mine who lives in Ireland, and I just shared a bit more about this and conversations in that direction. He's like, oh, we have the same problems. I'm like, good. Good.
It's you know, on the one hand, it's good that we all have the same problem. We can all need to solve it. On the other hand, it's bad that we all have this problem already. So
right,
at least we're figuring out ways of dealing with it. So it's
guilty
excellent.
as charged. You know, we're guilty as charged. You know, there's no perfect. And I suppose that's the other part about that part of where we are in 10 years time, in 2032. Gosh, my daughter will just be finishing high school. Gosh. Anyhow, my youngest one, but you know, we're still humans. You know, one of the funny things about all this technology is that we're still humans at the end of the day. We're irrational, you know, like that will still be the case. And I'm sure because of that, there'll be something else out there by then that we'll be working on for the next little piece to work and shape around.
Yeah, exactly. So there'll always be something, but I love what you guys are doing. And like, as soon as I see it in the store, in the US store, I'm downloading that sucker and I'm buying.
Dan, you're on. I'll get onto the team, make sure I get that locked in. Anyhow.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Tell me, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Certainly through hitpauze.com. So HitPauze, as you said earlier, with a Z, pauze.com, and or just through LinkedIn. My name, Gary Borham, at LinkedIn, and you might have them all in the show notes there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's links there. We've put links everywhere, so you can connect with us in some way and shoot out a message and get in touch. We're looking forward to really interacting.
Unless we get a HitPauze response saying I'm in a podcast.
The whole team is HitPauze. Yes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was great.
Talk to you later. Bye.
See you guys.